Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I take you an awesome tour of my garden during the month of May. So let's go. The tour will start on the south side of my house and it will end on the west side of my house. I'm going to do a full tour, so grab a coffee or a drink of your choice and relax. I hope you enjoy this video. Most importantly, I really want you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps my channel out. And also, please be sure to hit the like button and also to leave a comment if you have a comment to leave. Thanks so much and enjoy the garden tour. Right near the nursery bed, I have some clematis or clematis, however you want to say it, and it's budded up. Let me give you a close-up shot of what it looks like. Isn't that pretty? So that one's just opening up, but there are a ton of buds on here. I have some fringed bleeding heart here, and I also have a perennial geranium. They're loving life. Such pretty colors. The peonies are budded up. The ants are sipping the sap off of the buds, which actually does no harm to the plants. Probably my next garden tour, I will show all my peonies blooming. I can't wait. This bleeding heart was huge. I have 2 huge clumps of it. Anytime anyone comes to my backyard nursery, they always comment on how beautiful and huge the bleeding heart plants are. I have a few of these Miss Kim lilacs, and they are in bloom and they smell wonderful. Here on the south side, I just kept dividing Stelladora daylilies, and then I worked around the Stelladora daylilies over the last few years, just popping in various perennials. In this bed, what I love is that since the Stelladora daylilies are a reblooming perennial, I can keep deadheading them and just get some sort of color during the whole summer. But just as importantly, check out the buds on these peonies. They are all different colors and they are ready to be opening up in the next week or so, I'd say. Can't wait. So pretty. Do you remember we filled these raised beds with stock, alyssum as well as ranunculus? Well, the ranunculus are budded up, some are blooming, and some are starting to go by. But they put on such a great show. They're so beautiful. And the stalk are budded up as well. I definitely need to water these beds quite often, but it's worth it. Check out the color of this stalk. Isn't it beautiful? It's like a fuchsia pink. And right near it is this gorgeous ranunculus. I love the color. It's like a nice Halloween color. Hello, little spider. How are you? Here's another stalk that's budded up. Right near it, another one that's white. And finally, my goodness, I am so in love with ranunculus. I need more of them in my life. The strawberries have blossoms on them, and the blueberry plants do not have blossoms on them, but there's always next year. At least they're alive and they look good. These blueberry and strawberry plants look good as well. Filling right up. And in here is a different type of strawberry plant, and also there are raspberries in the center of this bed. We've done quite a bit of work in this garden bed, and I've documented it in videos. Together, we cut back the dianthus in the early spring, and check it out. Look how huge they are. They are just starting to bloom. They are all budded up. I'm guessing by the time that the peonies are blooming, that these will be in full bloom as well. One thing I wanted to point out is the Joe Pye weed. If any of you have it, it is beautiful. I actually love it, but it spreads. So probably in the fall, I'm going to tackle removing most of the Joe Pye weed. I do want to keep some of it, but I just need to keep it in check and control it a little bit. Right near the Joe Pye weed is a really pretty dianthus. I love it because it has a nice silver foliage to it. I also have the peonies that are budded up as well in this bed. I love peonies. I don't know about you. They're just so pretty. Right near these peonies, I have some baptisia that had dropped its seeds a few years ago. And while the placement of this plant is not optimal, I'm going to let it do its thing. You can see that they are budded up and they are about to bloom. I have a few baptisia seedlings, volunteer seedlings in this bed. There's another one right there. Everything's looking really nice, ready to burst into color. And all those empty spots that we created together in this bed, I'm going to be filling them up with annuals this week. So my next garden tour, I'm going to show what that looks like. The candy tuft is starting to go by. I will be shearing that back and I will show you how to do that. I'm hoping for a second flush of blooms, but if not, at least it will be nice and tidy. If you'll remember, near my side walkway is this bed here, where I used to have 3 arborvitae that I pulled out. So we planted together a bunch of rhododendron, and there's also some lobelia, there's alyssum, there's vinca, there's candy tuft. There's all sorts of good stuff in here. It's going to take off. Just give it some time. Check out just how gorgeous these pots are looking. Do you remember when we put them together? They were so tiny, all the plants. The lettuce is beautiful. The creeping Jenny adds that nice chartreuse color to the pot. The alyssum's looking happy. Check out the lamium. It's really starting to take off. And the chives are budded up and they're just about to bloom any day now. And together we put this Memorial Day patriotic 4th of July pot together. Red, white, and blue. I see you, little chippy. I have lots of chippies in my yard. Chipmunks are so cute. We're on the other side of the porch here, and this pot's looking just as gorgeous as the other one. Do you remember when we put these window boxes together? We did the hanging baskets and the window boxes together. Look how pretty it is. I love the chives. And a lot of people that have come over to buy plants from my backyard nursery have looked at these pots and have told me how inspired they are to do a similar thing with their chives. I just think it looks so cute. This is where I used to have arborvitae. I had 3 of them here and had them removed about a year ago. And together we planted the space up. So it's looking nice and tidy. The lobelia really just stands out in this bed. We're leaving the south side of my house and heading towards the east. Look how lush and green the grass looks. We spend a lot of time on our lawn. In the fall, I'll show you a video of how I overseed the lawn. It's definitely a woodland garden out this way. Check out the hosta. A couple of hellebore here, but primarily hosta. Just past the hosta bed, I have a spirea, and it's out in the woods. But if you look closely, there it is with the white blossoms. There's a tree right near it that I need to just trim back. I want that spirea to really stand out next year. So I'll definitely be doing that soon. We had a freeze recently, and so some of my hosta did get hit. I need to come out here and spend some time and just clean up some of the leaves of the ones that got hit by the freeze. A lot of the flower beds in my backyard I have not gotten to weeding, but it's all right. I'll get to it eventually. Check out these small sized hosta right here. So cute. I spy with my little eye a little toad near my hosta. So cute. If you look beyond the weeds, there are heuchera, there's dianthus, we have some lungwort, there's columbine. There are a bunch of perennials packed in this bed. Hosta, daylilies. So once I get it weeded out, it will really look so much better. This is my back porch, and the window boxes look great up there. And coming down from the back porch are some clematis, or clematis. I love this color, so pretty. The creeping phlox is just starting to go by. It put on a great show, though, a few weeks ago. And I definitely need to edge this bed, weed it, and just fix it a little. There's areas where there was some runoff with some water, so it just needs a little bit of TLC. Ton of different plants in here. We have daylilies, we have iris, there's heuchera, there's dianthus. It's just a mix of stuff. There's forsythia, hosta, see some lupin. And as we head down this way, there's a bunch of lamium. When I garden, I try to make it so that there's little pockets. And I do that in sections, like maybe between two trees or between two rocks. I love, love, love how the lamium looks in this area. And check out this columbine. Oh, I'm in love with it. So gorgeous. Oh, look at its pretty face. Isn't that so pretty? I really need to spend a lot of time in all my beds, but in this bed, I have some Solomon seal and there's some hosta. So I need to spend a little bit more time here. The statue came from my mother-in-law's. I thought it's a nice, peaceful area to rest in. If we continue in the East Gardens here, you'll notice that near my path, there is a spirea that's blooming. I'm going to get close enough to it so you can see it. Look how dainty and pretty the blossoms are on it. I'm just waiting. Every year, this plant keeps getting bigger and bigger. Big weedy mess. But you can see the creeping phlox is starting to go by. There's some daylilies, some iris in here. I'm not going to give you a close-up tour of the backyard way in the back where I do have flower beds because I really don't have a lot going on back there, more than just a lot of weeds. There are some perennials, but the weeds are definitely encroaching, so we won't really take a tour of that. I'll show you it though once I've weeded it out. Here is my raised vegetable garden. It's very small, but it's packed. The lettuce has been great. We've been harvesting from it, and the asparagus has been wonderful as well. I'm just letting it grow out. We have planted some cucumber along the trellis, and that's on the right-hand side. And then there's a trellis in the back where the peas are growing. I still have a few more pots to make. I need to empty out all the creeping Jenny from this garden, and I want to put those in the pots. There's some weeds in there, and there's also some black-eyed Susan seedlings. I might as well pot those up and sell them as part of my nursery sale. And we just planted a couple of rows of green beans between the lettuce and the asparagus. So those should be popping up in the next week. And Right here is my rose garden. I noticed that there are some buds that are just starting to show up. I still have a lot of annuals, so I'm going to be popping some color in here. I don't want the color to be pink because most of these roses are pink. There might be a yellow one in here, but majority of the roses are pink. So whatever colors I put in here will not be pink, but something to complement pink. Here at the back porch, this is one of the pots that we put together as well. I showed this area in a previous video where I was weeding and reclaiming a space. The daffodils have gone by, and right behind the daffodils are daylilies. And you can't really see the daylilies because there's so many weeds in here. I really want to clean this area out because I want those daylilies to shine. And right behind the daylilies are a whole entire row of peonies. I don't want those peonies to bloom and look so beautiful amongst all these weeds. I need to get going. It's going to cool down for a few days. It'll be a perfect time to get to this bed and weed it out. Notice the stray allium amongst the weeds? So pretty. I did a video recently and hopefully it inspired you to get out there and do some weeding, dividing, moving of perennials. And I still have to tackle all those weeds. Probably today. Today would be a great day. So here's some of the perennials that we put in this bed after weeding it. Looking good. So let's continue down the north side of my gardens. It's pretty narrow, and I like the heuchera or coral bells that are towards the front of the bed. I just think it's such a nice pop of color. And I'm trying to fill in the space behind the heuchera with lots of pasta. So that's what I'm working on. I'm getting at it. I spent a lot of time edging my flower beds. I just think it makes it look so nice. Who would have thought you could have flower beds at the edge of the woods? You can. The leopard's bane had a nice yellow show. It's starting to go by. I love the fringed bleeding heart. I just think it's so dainty. This bed is mostly Stelladora daylilies. I am planning on adding some other perennials in this area. I'm not quite sure what, but this will be a little bit of a project because there are some spring bulbs that are planted in amongst the daylilies, and I would like to pull those out and put them in other parts of my gardens. Or they could even stay in this bed, but if they stay in this bed, I want them towards the front of the bed. And I have some heuchera that I want to get planted. I think between the heuchera and some spring bulbs towards the front of the bed, that would look nice. And then I want to have some perennials scattered throughout these daylilies. Over towards the back of this particular bed, let's go check it out. I have a honeysuckle bush or a tree or shrub. Regardless, it's a honeysuckle. And I got this from my sister-in-law's. I just love the blossoms on it. I think it's so pretty. It might be a wild plant. It might take over the world. I'm not sure. But for right now, it's in a good spot in my yard. I have another one over here. I definitely need to cut out any of the old pieces out of this. But for right now, it lives and it looks great. Right here is a crabapple tree towards the center of this bed. You can see that nice Japanese, red Japanese maple that came from a seedling that was at my mother-in-law's house. And right near that is a forsythia bush. And I had moved that during a recent project when I was weeding. There's a Weigelia right near that. And right near the Weigelia is a variegated ivory halo dogwood. Can you believe I only spent $11 on that? It was marked down 75% at the end of the season last year. It's so pretty and it is budded up. I want to give you a closer look. That it's budded up and it's going to bloom soon. So pretty. So quiet and peaceful in the morning. I love being out here. I still need to hook up irrigation down here. One bed at a time. And the creeping phlox down here, which was pink, is just starting to go by. I like to give different perspectives of my yard. We're basically looking at the west side of my house and also the north side of my house. It's nice to look at a flower bed also from the back part of it. You can see all the hosta from this side. And this is the flower bed that I weeded and cleaned out and added a bunch of plants like hosta. They are all small right now, but in a couple of years, this whole area is going to fill right up and look so pretty. Towards the back of this bed, I had planted a bunch of iris. I had divided it and moved it towards the back. And they are budded up, at least some of them are, and they should be blooming pretty soon. That's going to look really pretty. This over here is a potentilla. I think that's how you say it. It's the happy face hearts. I got it for $10. It was marked down at the end of the season. But it is starting to bud up and it should be blooming pretty soon. If you look carefully, there are some buds on there. I'll show you what it looks like when it is blooming. Right behind the potentilla is a Kusa dogwood. I got it from a backyard nursery. So it's not huge. It's not going to bloom this year. I just wanted to point it out that I do have one in the yard. I have some yucca towards the back of this bed. And then right near the yucca are some baptisia or false indigo. And these are budded up. They're not too happy in this bed. I think they need a lot more sun. So over time, I need to move them. And towards the back of this bed is another plant that's not very happy. It's something I struggle with in this yard. I just don't have a lot of sun, so I'm constantly trying to find a good place for plants. But this is a Weigelia, so it does have a blossom. I had transplanted it from my sister-in-law's house, and it just could be that I need to shear it back or cut it back down to the ground, and it might flush out. I might have to try that. This bed is filled with a bunch of plants. Towards the front, we had the purple creeping phlox that I divided early in the season and moved down here. And then right behind that is blue fescue. I don't love it with the daylilies. I think it's too much grassy texture. So I will be removing this blue fescue and adding it as part of my plant sale. And if you notice, there are two different types of blue fescue in here. It's kind of funny. I guess I just planted it not knowing that they were different types. And actually right near the blue fescue is a perennial mum. It's yellow color. I definitely need to get at it early July. That's the time to cut it back to make sure that when it does bloom in the fall, that it has a nice tight mound to it, that it's not flopping over. And there are also some purple aster in here that bloom in the fall as well. And then finally, right behind that are yet again more Stelladora daylilies. And then to the back of this bed is a huge lilac tree. It's budded up and it's going to be blooming before you know it. And as we make our way in this direction. I have some hosta that I planted here last year. The deer have not found it yet, so that's good. And then check out the lady's mantle. That's been very popular during my plant sales, I must say. And they are budded up. They have a really pretty blossom to them, a yellow color blossom. And I just love the way the water glistens on it in the morning. Look how pretty that is. If you don't have lady's mantle, I definitely recommend it towards the front of your flower bed. I have some stray spiderwort in here. I personally don't like spiderwort, so I'm trying to remove it from my garden. I love the blossom. I just don't like the grassy texture of it. And the Stelladora daylily over here is budded up and will be blooming pretty soon. I haven't been pointing them out, but in a few places in my yard, I do have some hydrangea. Here's one of them. I'm waiting for them to all be blooming, and then I'll give you a tour of them when they are blooming. Just know that pretty soon I will be doing a tour that shows you all my hydrangea in bloom. Here at the front of my house, which is the west side, I did a lot of work here recently with edging this bed and weeding it and then planting a bunch of annuals. That was a big project, so I'm glad I got that done. My husband helped me with that project, which was really nice. We're on the front porch. The primrose is still looking good. I've been trying to keep it deadheaded, just to keep it looking pretty. And over here is a pot that we put together as well. Those are the window boxes that we put together in a video. It's great to show you updates on how everything's looking. And my pond. I need to clean that pond out. It's an ongoing task if you have a pond. Look how cute all the mini hostas looking. And remember we pulled out that big creeping phlox and a bunch of weeds? Everything is looking good here. Look how pretty the lobelia is. So vibrant, so blue. The pansies are all looking great, even though it's starting to get hot. And we just put these dahlias in my last video. Just wait, in a few more weeks, this front walkway is going to explode with some color. I have a bunch of black-eyed Susan up along the side of my house here on the west side next to the garage. And when it blooms, it just looks so pretty. I just need to do a quick weeding job in here, and then this bed is pretty much done. We're at the end of my driveway, and I just wanted to show you how beautiful the hanging baskets are looking that we planted together. Here's one of them. These were pansies that I started from seed. I definitely ended up with a lot more purple than yellow, but that's okay. I still love the color. Here's another one. I've been fertilizing them once a week and deadheading as well. So they're definitely due to be deadheaded again. And I have hosta along my driveway as well, planted here and there and everywhere. The deer haven't found them yet. Here's a view as we head up the driveway. Doesn't it look so pretty with the woods? The hanging baskets are always a cheery welcome to visitors. I'm not sure when or if I'm going to change out the pansies. I'll wait until they're getting very leggy and they're just starting to fizzle and go by. That's why I start so many annuals from seed. I can always pop in something else for the summer. You can see my front yard. Over here, I have An azalea that's blooming. This is the first year that it's been here, so I'm sure every year it's going to look more and more beautiful. Some creeping phlox. It's probably too shady for it. I'll have to move it. It didn't bloom. We're now approaching the south side of my yard, and there's the plant nursery. I've been doing really well. It's not a full-time operation for me. It's just part-time. So I'm pretty pleased with how I'm doing. I still have a lot of plants left in here. I also have a lot of weeds that I need to tend to. I've been watering this quite a bit because it's been pretty dry. A lot of Stelladora daylilies to still sell. And over here is my plant nursery for myself. That's my holding bed. And check out how beautiful this iris is. There are a few things in here that I need to put in my landscape. I love that iris. I also have a flax that's blooming. There's a perennial geranium that I don't have in my yard. I bought a lot of these plants from other backyard nurseries, and this is one of them. Look how cute those strawberry plants are. I need to put them in a small little pot. Here's some pretty blue flax. I have a few lupin that I winter sowed 2 years ago, so this one is just starting to bud up. I have another lupin that's in bloom. So between the lupin that I have in my own little plant nursery area here on the side, as well as the foxglove, I really need to get them out of my landscape. Speaking of the foxglove, check them out. They're budded up. I winter sowed those last year, and since they are a biennial, they will bloom this year. Very exciting. Yes, lots of weeds in the background. The wood phlox is just starting to go by. I really want to get that somewhere in my yard. Now that I know it blooms in the mid-spring, and it's a blue color, and it's not very tall, I have some ideas of where I'm going to place that. I love this geum. I'm thinking the geum will look pretty in a certain place in my garden as well. I definitely want to get these plants in my garden beds before they go by, because I can see them right now. I know which month they're blooming in, and I know how tall they get. So they need to get moved out. Here's a centaurea that's just starting to go by. I'm going to be plucking that out, moving that in my yard somewhere. Here's a delphinium that's budded up. I winter sowed it, and I need to get that in my landscape because those are so hard to plant from seed, at least in my opinion. Here's a bunch of Blue Hill salvia. It's budded up and just starting to bloom. So I definitely need to move that somewhere also. Lots of work to do. Start pulling things out of this nursery bed where I'm holding over my own plants and get them out in the landscape somewhere. That was fun. I really enjoyed showing you my yard, and I can't wait to show you more videos as the yard progresses. I hope you're enjoying your gardens as much as I am. Please remember to make it a great day with gardening.